Langston Hughes. Langston Hughes is more than just a writer. He worked on a boat, he was a waiter. But to know him more and learn why his poetry remains a classic, we have to delve deep into the facts. He was born on February 1st, 1902 with the name James Mercer Langston Hughes. Named after his father, he was quickly being called Langston Hughes by his mother and friends. His father lived down in Mexico because of the segregation. His father was black and his mother was Native American. In 1908, Langston went to school in an all-white school for his entire childhood. A few years later of learning his father invited Langston to come visit his ranch for the summer. He came back to learn that he would be living with his grandmother in Lawrence, Kansas, who then died when he was 12. He then went to live with some of his mother's friends. This is when Langston started to read books. He lived there for a while until he went back to live with his mother. By then she already was remarried and had another child. His name was John Mercer Langston, and Langston enrolled for high school. After Langston's high school years, he worked on the Malone SS as a crewman. It traveled to Africa, Europe in the early 1920s. The boat went to London, so in his time there, he traveled Europe from Paris to Italy. Along the way, he wrote poems and started to write. A friend read his poems and said to him, "You should publish this." So he sent some of his poems to a publishing company. They weren't very accepting, so he tried a different one, and they loved his poems. So he wrote a book called The Weary Blues. Langston Hughes was an amazing writer and poet. In fact, he started the style of poetry called jazz poetry. He died on May 22nd, 1967, in New York City. He was 65 from issues relating to prostate cancer. I like his poetry because his poems are very real and can tell how evil or how kind the world could be. He remains popular to this day. People quote him and continue to love his work and is fascinating. Here's a quote from one of his famous poems. "What happens to a dream deferred? Does it dry up in the sun, or does it fester like a sore and then run? Does it stink like rotten meat, or crust then sugar over like a syrupy sweet? Maybe it just sags like a heavy load, or does it explode?" And now we'll read a different poem by him called I Too Sing America by Langston Hughes. I too sing for America. I am the darker brother. They send me to eat in the kitchen when company comes, but I laugh and eat well and grow strong. Tomorrow I'll be at the table when nobody comes. Nobody'll dare say to me, "Eat in the kitchen then." Besides, they'll see how beautiful I am and be ashamed. I too am America.